Hello friends! Today's video is for all of you expectant mamas who are getting ready to prepare a place to bring your little one home to. After bringing home 2 babies, I wanted to share with you today the top 2, in my mind, things that are necessary to prepare to bring home this little tiny baby and what that looked like in our house. Before I get started, I wanted to mention that if you find this video helpful and you know someone who might benefit from it, I would be honored if you would consider sharing it. After bringing home 2 sweet little girls, I kind of have come to the conclusion that babies definitely do need stuff. There's needs, there's wants. That's not really what we're going to talk about today, but I've kind of distilled it down, at least in my opinion, for the most important things that when you bring the baby home to have prepared. And I had these prepared sort of for my first birth. I had 1 out of 2 and then for the second birth I had both of them ready, and I feel like that was beneficial, especially with my second one, because I didn't feel overwhelmed of trying, how am I gonna, when I first had my first, it's like, how am I gonna, crud, I don't have something that I need. So the biggest 2 things in my mind is, where are they going to sleep, and where are you going to change their bottom? Because those are the 2 things that your little baby is going to do the most. My first suggestion is to identify a place for them to sleep. And specifically, what room? Are they going to be in your room? Are they going to be in with mom and dad? And that could look like in the room next to you. It could maybe mean that they're going to be in the closet in mom and dad's room, or are they going to be in their own room? Now, there's obviously pros and cons for each of those options, but it's like depending on what your house looks like and how much space you have, and are there other children, and just all of that. But the first thing to do is identify, where do you want your infant child to be when you bring them home and you have your first night as a family? Where are they going to be? The next question is, what are they going to sleep in? And this is the physical container. What are you going to have your baby in? So it could look like them bed sharing with mom and dad, so baby's in bed with you. It could look like a co-sleeper that's attached to the bed, so baby's right next to you and easy to get to. It could look like a mini crib, which is just like what it sounds. I only learned of these recently, which is strange, but it's just a little mini crib. Or it could look like them in their own room in the larger crib that's going to be their bed for the next however many years. For us, as far as what our baby slept in, of course, if you've watched many of my videos, then you'll know that they actually ended up in bed with me, one of them for much longer than I anticipated. That's okay. But we also had a co-sleeper, and you can see a little picture of my very adorable baby sitting in her co-sleeper that she didn't sleep in for the first few months because she was on strike, but it worked out really well eventually worked out really well for both of our babies to have this co-sleeper. It was attached to our bed, and then we eventually moved it away from the bed, and we ended up putting my youngest, she was in our little closet for a little while. We just moved all the clothes, and so she ended up in the closet just to put a little bit of space between us, and before I ended up moving her to her room and to her big crib. So the next question, and the last question as far as sleeping, is what clothing are they going to sleep in? Now, it obviously will depend on where you live and what the season is, but just a few options that I have learned about. And the first one is, it doesn't matter how cute those little button-up sleeper jammies with the tiny buttons all the way down to their toes, don't get those. Not at least for sleeping, because when you're in the middle of the night and you don't want to turn the light on, but you've got to change their diaper and you've got to unsnap 47 snaps, you have to snap 47 snaps, and it's time consuming. So I would go with the little footed zipper jammies, or another thing that we used pretty frequently with both of our girls that we loved were they're just little pajama nightgowns, and so they're long. I mean, picture, like the old grandma nightgowns, but they're longer than the baby's feet, and some of them have little pulls that you can close it off with, and you just open it up, pull their little feet out. That's super quick. Another thought for the clothing is, are you going to swaddle them? And if you are, what kind of swaddle do you want to do? There's a world of swaddles out there. We've actually done some videos on swaddling if you're interested. Or you could also do sleep sacks, or any number of things, but I would have those things identified and ready and washed before you bring your baby home, because then it's just right at your fingertips. The last thing I want to mention is the part 2, and that is having a place to change their little booty. Now, if they're sleeping in your room, obviously you're probably going to end up changing them on your bed fairly frequently, especially if it's in the middle of the night. But the one thing that I didn't have with my oldest daughter is a changing table, and I thought, oh, I'll just change her on the bed or on the floor. And that got old after a while. My back was like, okay, what's happening with all this? We did a video a little while back, and you can check it out over here. It was a nursery on a budget. And also, I should also say that it's a nursery on a budget and a tiny house. We didn't have a whole lot of storage, and so in between not having a lot of storage and not having a whole ton of money that we wanted to allocate on a nursery, because these things are fluid and changing, and we ended up going with something from IKEA. We bought a dresser, and then I went on Amazon, which has pretty much everything under the sun, and found an actual changing pad that would fit on top of the dresser. So we had a changing pad / table for her, for my youngest, until eventually she got to the point where she was like, I wonder what will happen if I roll off and struggle and kick and act like I'm being, murdered up here. And so then that was the end of that. But for the first little while, with all those early diaper changes that happened, every 22 minutes or every 2 minutes, it was nice because we had her up there. And then when we got done, now we have the dresser, which we use for her clothing, which is awesome. Before I continue, I wanted to let you guys know that we have a Facebook page. So if you haven't visited us on Facebook, I would invite you to check us out. We post daily content there. You can interact with us if you'd like. We also post trailers for our new videos that you can link to over here on YouTube, so you can kind of get an early view of what we're going to be talking about. So we'd love to have you come and join us on Facebook. I know for you mamas who are getting ready to bring home your first baby that this is probably all really overwhelming. In fact, with my first baby, I refused to do my baby registry until one of my friends drove 45 minutes from her house to come and do it for me. I should say with me, but she was really doing it for me because I was so overwhelmed and just so done that I was like, I don't need anything, it's fine, whatever, I don't care, I'm just gonna ignore it, stick my head in the sand. So I do truly understand that when you are pregnant with your first, that it can be really overwhelming. But just to throw out a little bit of encouragement, that in my experience, and this is my own personal opinion, the things that we've talked about today, the 2 things, a warm, comfortable, and safe place for your baby to sleep, and a place to keep their bottom clean, and you, it's really all they need in the very beginning. Of course, food, but that's part of you. But that's really all that is absolutely 100% necessary. And one of the biggest parts is you. So don't get overwhelmed. Don't panic. It'll be okay. You will do amazing. And just make sure you have a bed for them and a way to clean their bottom, and you'll be all good. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. I'd like to invite you real quick that if you're not a subscriber, we would love to have you join with us on our journey into family. We post videos every week just about family and babies and kind of just life, really. So we would love to have you join with us on our journey. And if you have any thoughts about our video today, leave them in the comments. I really enjoy getting to interact with you. I have met some amazing people through this, and it's always the highlight of my day when I get a kind comment. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great day, and we'll see you again next time. Bye!